How's it going, everyone? How are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I am reviewing the Chelsea versus Sevilla game. This is Chelsea's first game in the Champions League this season. We played poorly in the first half, in my opinion. We did exactly what I said not to do, and Sevilla did exactly what I said Chelsea should do. But in the second half, we definitely rebounded, and honestly, given the bounce, like the way the game played out, I definitely feel that the draw was fair for both teams. I towards the end of the first half, I did feel Sevilla probably deserved more, but Chelsea really turned it around. And honestly, I think a draw was just a fair result. A clean sheet for Chelsea is big for them. And ultimately, this game was the first half wasn't as entertaining, but the second half was more entertaining. And I fully believe that the draw was the correct result. Now, for the lineups, to get right into it, Chelsea played a 4-2-3-1 as per usual with Chilwell left back, Thiago Silva center back, Zuma his other center back, Reece James on the right, Edouard Mendy in goal, Jorginho and Kante as the holding midfielders, Mount left attacking mid, Kai Havertz center attacking mid, Pulisic right attacking mid, and Timo Werner up top. Now, I didn't realize in the Champions League you can have the rest of your squad on your bench, and so both teams did, and they have really long benches. Kepa, Caballero, Rudiger, Christensen, Tomori, Azpilicueta, Emerson, Kovacic, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Hakim Ziyech, Tammy Abraham, and Olivier Giroud were all on the bench for Chelsea. Now for Sevilla's lineup, they had De Jong up top in a 4-3-3 formation, Ocampos left wing, Suso right wing. They had Gudel, Fernando, and Rakitic as the midfield trio, Acuna left back, Diego Carlos and Gomez as the center back pair, and Jesus Navas on the right, and Bono in goal. I nearly got their lineup to a T. I just missed Gudel, who honestly put in a shift this game for Sevilla. He was very good for them. Now for their subs, they had Vasquez, Escudero, Vaklik, Rekic, Oliver Torres, Munir, Fernandez, Jordan, and Nasiri, and Rodriguez. And they only had 10. They have, I believe it's a 23-man squad for the UCL. They only had 21 players, which I found kind of interesting. I think because two of them were out, that they weren't included. I'm not entirely sure why they didn't. I know for sure Kunde, their center back is, I know he's out, but I wonder why they didn't completely fill out the squad. Maybe they didn't have enough players. I'm not entirely sure about that. But besides the full benches, teams were also allowed to make 5 substitutions, although neither team did. Both teams only made 4 substitutions in this game. Now to get right into the first half, honestly, right away, Sevilla looked the more confident of the two teams. They really pressed us, and like I said in the prediction video, they love to have the possession, and surely enough, what happened? They got all the possession in the first half. They were just taking all the possession that Chelsea were letting them have and just using it going forward. And honestly, it seemed like we were playing a sort of counter-attacking game where we just sit back and let them come at us. And it was a bit of a gutsy move by Lampard after our performance against Southampton. I almost forgot who we played in the last game. And with our defensive woes that are currently going on, it's very interesting that Lampard shifted the focus on our defense and tried to play a counter-attacking game. And ultimately, it really didn't work. Honestly, I felt that if we kept playing like that, it was only going to be a matter of time before we conceded a goal. Now, we were extremely sloppy with our passes. They were poor. They were poor. They were not good. We were just gifting too much possession from our bad passes. That was another main reason why Sevilla were getting a lot of possession, particularly in our defensive third. And it felt like we just weren't really trying with the passes. We were just kind of trying to get rid of the ball too quickly and panicking for no real reason. And that's why we ended up having so many sloppy passes. Though in the first 15 minutes, I mentioned possession, Sevilla had us 61% to 39% on possession after 15 minutes. And no, no, that's something Sevilla, no, you can't do that when you're playing against Sevilla. They looked extremely confident. They had a very solid shape. They kept their shape throughout the entire game. And they're clearly, to me, they proved to me this game that they're clearly a growing world-class side. If they just keep playing the way they are, they keep adding pieces and working the pieces that they have around, then this is a side that can actually do some serious damage later on. I already said this in my predictions, but they are a team that can, mess with the best. They're up there. They can handle it. So they proved to me this game that they are more than capable of playing against the best teams in the world. And Throughout the first half, honestly, it was just Sevilla. It was all Sevilla. The game was pretty physical. The ref was allowing a lot to get away for both sides. In particular, there's this one challenge that James had on I think it was Acuna, Sevilla's left back, where he was very pushy, shovey, pulley, and Acuna returned the favor, and ref just let it go, which was fair. It was a physical game. He let quite a bit go away. Chelsea didn't get their first shot until the 31st minute. And I think they had another shot, but it was off target, and that was their only shot on target of the first half. And the only time they really felt threatening going forward, it was a Timo Werner header, if I remember correctly. I think it was a Timo Werner header. But towards the end of the first half, Gomez, the center back for Sevilla, had to come off the injury. It's unfortunate to see he went down to the ground. He was holding his hamstring, and I just kind of hope it's not like an ACL, MCL tear, anything like that. That'd be really unfortunate for them. They're already strapped on defense when it comes to center back, so I really hope he comes out all right and can make a good recovery soon. Sevilla, though, throughout the first half were very quick to get to the ball. They were just on us. The pressure that they put on us was insane. That was the question for me going into the second half, is can Sevilla keep it up? And honestly, I fully believe that they could keep that pressure up throughout the whole entire game. And they did until Chelsea started disrupting their flow. But in that first half, they fully deserved way more than a draw. They deserved way more than a draw in that first half. They beat us in that first half. And Reece James in particular stood out for me this entire game. And the first half he was the only real bright spot for me. The crosses that the guy's putting in were insane. He's getting way better at that. And it kind of seemed like he was being targeted. Like Sevilla just kind of kept pushing their left side, our right side. So I felt like Reece James was getting targeted. But at the very end of the first half, Timo Werner scuffs a potential shot on target. He absolutely whiffs a shot. It was like a small volley, and I know it's not the easiest shot, but he definitely should have gotten something on it, and he just absolutely scuffed it. And we head into the second half at a draw in a game where it felt like, honestly, we were losing. Sevilla were pressuring us like crazy, and we needed to turn it around the second half, and quite honestly, we did. We needed, honestly, going into the second half, we needed to take it to Sevilla, and we can't let them control their game. We can't let them play their game. Like I mentioned, give them possession, let them have the ball, let them control the tempo. We came out of the second half, and we upped our tempo, and we started controlling the game. And you noticed with Sevilla's defending, they slowly started unraveling. More gaps were opening up, more space as more defenders were committing on these challenges, because Chelsea felt so threatening going forward in the second half. And Chelsea looked much more threatening, and we were playing our game offensively more so. We were just growing to the game, and we were playing our game. We weren't letting Sevilla dictate how we're gonna play. We started to really take it to Sevilla, which is where everything really changed, and we grew into the game, and we became a big part of the game finally, where we weren't just bystanders watching Sevilla do whatever they wanted to do. And it resulted in Sevilla not even getting a shot on goal in the second half, which I thought was incredibly impressive and huge, especially after, like I mentioned earlier, the game against Southampton and how poor we were defensively in that game. To come out and get this clean sheet, and then not only that, but to hold Sevilla in the whole second half without a shot on target was huge. And we definitely improved in the second half. Now in the 62nd minute, Hakim Ziyech came on for Mason Mount. Now honestly, for me, I feel like that's how the game should have started. We should have had Mason Mount out for Hakim Ziyech, and then if Ziyech is not fully fit, then bring on Mount later on. It is what it is. Lampard, I know he has his favoritisms for Mount, and I don't know. I feel like in the long run, it'll hurt the team more than help to keep Ziyech on the sideline over Mount. I feel like Ziyech, Havertz, Pulisic, and Werner are our front four, and they should be our front four, because that is a deadly front right there. And I just feel like, not that Mount's going to detract from the team, but I feel like Ziyech can bring so much more to the team, and I heavily doubt he's going to be happy as a bench player. I wouldn't be if I was a player of his talent. So, of course, naturally, he's going to want that game time. But I just think Lampard can't keep it up forever. He can't keep Ziyech on the bench for Mount forever. And of the front four, I feel like Mount's the only one that should be on the bench. For the rest of the second half, honestly, the deadlock felt deserved. It made more sense in the second half because these teams were actually going at each other and really pressing. It was much more exciting in the second half than the first half. And in the 67th minute, probably Sevilla's best chance. It was a wonderful volley from Jordan from Sevilla, and he was not closed down by Ben Chilwell. Chilwell just stood there and watched him take the volley, which I thought was incredibly frustrating. He just sat there and didn't even try to close him down. I don't understand his thought process behind that. Even if he knew it was going over, I mean, you couldn't have. It was a very powerful shot. It was a very powerful volley. So I was a little frustrated that Chilwell didn't close him down on that. And honestly, that was probably Sevilla's best chance throughout the whole second half. Throughout it, after the substitution for Ziyech, honestly, it didn't really feel like we needed to make any more substitutions. The team didn't feel sluggish. The team was flowing, and we were really pressing Sevilla, and we were doing well. We didn't feel slow. We didn't feel the need to inject energy. Like, the team just seemed energetic. Maybe because both teams were slowing down at the same pace, so it never really felt like one team had more energy than the other. I genuinely think that both teams were just slowly declining at the same pace, so that's why it felt like neither team was slowing down compared to the other. And honestly, in the second half, as time went on, we became increasingly difficult to control for Sevilla and made it difficult for them to get back into the game as they were in the first half. We were very threatening on the attack, and defensively we were holding stout. In particular, like I already said, for me, Reece James was man of the match. He was excellent going forward and back. He was just all over the place, on the whole right flank, and he did incredibly well. Eventually, we did make another substitution. We brought on Kovacic for Jorginho, and Kovacic put in a shift off of the bench. He played incredibly well defensively, more so. He had a few great tackles and great defensive plays. It was a huge substitution. Now, that one I did agree with, bringing off Jorginho. Jorginho didn't have the most exciting. I mean, he was decent in the midfield, but bringing Kovacic on was huge. It's pretty obvious that he's a little more acclimated to the center defensive mid role. He helped the defense quite a bit heading into the final stretch. So it'll be interesting to see how Lampard approaches that, selection and the pairing with Kovacic in the holding midfielder roles. And honestly, the rest of the second half kind of played out where we just went back and forth for a bit, and it was a pretty exciting second half. I will admit, towards the end, I was a little scared because they got a corner, but they got a couple corners actually. But we held on defensively. We had we held the clean sheet, and honestly, I believe, like I mentioned earlier, the draw was the correct result. It would have felt cheap for Chelsea to win, kind of against the run of play, to be perfectly honest with you. And if anything, Sevilla probably would have, if either team were to win, I feel like Sevilla probably deserved it more. But I think the draw was the correct result, and purely because Chelsea grew back into the game and they really started to take it to Sevilla instead of just sitting there and watching them and letting them play their game. Now, a couple things I noticed in the second half before I finish, with the second half. Our right attacking mid never really seems to be as involved in the play. You saw when Havertz was playing at right attacking mid, he wasn't always involved. Pulisic doesn't seem to be very involved. When Ziyech has come on and played right attacking mid, he doesn't seem incredibly involved in the play. So I think Lampard needs to work on involving the right attacking mid more and really bringing that extra dimension from the right. And also, we were time wasting, which I thought was strange. We weren't really behind. We weren't, that far on the back foot. So I thought it was strange that Lampard decided to start time wasting. But yeah, in the second half, we played a much better game, much more impressive game, much more exciting game. We played our usual brand of offensive football and unfortunately couldn't quite take any of the chances that were coming our way. And ultimately, like I keep saying, the draw, I feel like, was the correct result. I'm happy with the fact that we did hold Sevilla in the second half. We greatly improved. A lot of the times when we come out in the second half, we perform a lot worse than the first, or vice versa. Sometimes I feel like we have one really good half and we have one really bad half, which is a habit that we need to get out of. It's okay to have bad patches throughout the game, but for us to struggle a whole half and then to have to rebound the second one, or to do really well in the first one and then just be really disappointing in the second. I think that we need to get out of that habit and improve. But overall, I'm not disappointed with this result. However, we have some things to take away from this game, and we have some things to improve from this game. So overall, not the worst result. We didn't lose. You know, that's probably the biggest thing here. We didn't lose and we didn't concede. But honestly, we can't, you know, sacrifice one part of our game for the other. You know, if we're defending well, we're not attacking well. If we're attacking well, we're not defending well. We need to find a balance. We need to find that striking balance now if we want to challenge for anything. I do like how much heart was put into this game. Honestly, both sides put in a lot of heart in this game, and that's what made it all the more entertaining. And it was for being a 0-0 draw, no goals, it was a fairly entertaining game, to be perfectly honest. Now, to get into my 2 interesting facts about the game, this was actually Chelsea and Sevilla's first ever match against each other. They have never played each other in their club history. Neither of them have ever played each other. Obviously, the only way they can play against each other is either in the Europa League or Champions League. But I found it very interesting that the 2 of them have never been matched up with each other. And yeah, this was their first encounter, and it ended in a draw. It'll be interesting to see their second encounter, you know, of both their histories against each other. And this was also, my other interesting fact, this was the battle of the last two Europa League winners. I noticed that in an article I read. I was like, wait, oh, wow. Chelsea did win the second to last Europa League, and Sevilla won the last one. This was a matchup between Europa League winners. And a little bonus one, Peter Cech was actually included as an emergency keeper for Chelsea. And the reasoning behind it was because of COVID. You know, how quickly, I mean, you look at Juventus' squad, how quickly they went down to the coronavirus because of how many players got infected. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes up if, let's say, 2 of our keepers and get injured or whatever, and Cech is on our bench. He's retired, so it'll be interesting to see if he ever makes an appearance for Chelsea again. I just found that really funny. But yeah, that was my review for the game. I feel like the draw was very deserved, and overall, I'm not too disappointed with the result. There's a lot to take away from this game, but the draw was definitely deserved between, you know, points to be shared between both sides. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Go check out the socials in the description. My Twitter is @BlueHermit1. My Instagram is @BlueHermit_. Please share the socials with all your family, friends, everybody you know. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.